Hello everyone. For this lecture, I'm getting straight into my DIY handmade floral seed paper. I'm making a batch of botanically dyed paper with y'all this morning, floral paper with y'all this morning, and guiding through my process as a way to share what I know, what I've learned, and transfer the knowledge and my process to you in this bonus lecture. Let's make some paper. One of the things I do very early on too is sit and sort through the various petals, flowers, leaves, sometimes seeds, anything that I would like to, create in my paper collection. Sometimes I would use embossing glitter that I would apply heat to after to set, gold foil, anything to, complete my paper collection. I am preparing my batch of pulp. I would have dyed this pulp using butterfly pea blooms, the blue, and cosmos, a mixture of orange and yellow. I attempted to make a shade of green, and here we are. So to the water, I add pulp, sometimes a handful at a time. I check the consistency, and it's usually an eyeball check. I'll show you a little later on specifically how I do this check with respect to the pulp consistency that results in paper thickness. Naturally, my next step, once I have selected what I'm adorning each sheet with or my paper collection with, I've prepared my pulp mix. Naturally, I will go into ensuring I have everything I need on hand. So that would entail a sponge, a cloth, my actual mold and decals. So the sizes I would like to use. Here I'm showing you my smallest size and 4x6 size. The smallest is 3 by 2.5 inches. My cloth and my flowers that I'm going to draw from. And here's the pulp that I'll be working with initially. I always, ensure the pulp is properly mixed. I check the feel of the pulp and also consistency. At this point, I would know if, I'm ready to start. And what I do initially is, clear my space using the mold and decal. I will do an initial check of how the pulp finishes after dipping. So this is my smallest size. It's the mini. It's 3 inches by 2.5 inches, and I'm dipping it into the pulp and doing a quick check to see if I'm happy with the consistency of the pulp. Here it is a bit too thick. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. While I can't quantify it in any measurable way, I could show you. So if you notice, you can see clearly what's going on here. It's a thickish, heavyish, finish. This is not what I would like for my, paper thickness. So what I do, I go in and I add water. I add water and I keep adding water until I am happy with the consistency. What I aim for is something extremely fluid, something liquid and, barely pulpy. Obviously, you need the pulp in there because that's what makes up the paper, but it is something that it's light and airy. That's the finish I go for. I'm not sure if you've seen a difference here with the water added, but I'm certain you can. It's not that heavy, chunky, pulpy finish. I could still add a little more water here, if I'm being completely honest with you, to get a thinner, paper, which I think I would have done. Check and see if you see the difference. I also do a hand check with my fingers. So if the water is not opaque enough, and you dip your hand and you're not going to see your fingers under there. So I'll get into that and show you what I mean soon. So once I have dipped my mold and decal in, I allow it to drain off some of the water. Even I sometimes assist it by playing with the surface of the mesh underneath, or I just sit it on the edge of my pulp tub like I'm doing here to let it free drain. During this time, I put any embellishments, any petals, anything I would like to add to my paper. I do that during this time. Seeds, if I'm adding seeds, those will be added during this time. I then take it over to my surface that I would have prepared. In preparing my surface for making my paper, I work on a table, a flat surface. I like a really large surface, clear surface to work with. I drape a piece of cloth that I don't mind damaging over the table, and I secure it in place. And that's pretty much the surface I use when I'm making my paper. If you want to play around with textures on your paper surface, you can use a textured cloth and experiment with that. As you lay your paper on it to dry and you press to remove the moisture, that texture is going to transfer to the paper. It's beautiful. So here I am now going to flip the mold and decal to allow the pulp, my paper sheet, to rest on the surface that I'm going to leave it on to dry. And here I am using my J cloth. You can use a sponge. Now, removing the moisture from your paper sheets while you put it to dry is a really critical step. This compression not only allows you to remove excess moisture, but it allows you to also, further compact and press your paper into something, thinner than it would be if you don't do this step, properly. With respect to the type of material used to remove moisture, obviously something that is super absorbent, super high absorbent sponge is perfect to use. Any cloth that is absorbent, full stop. The less absorbent your material, the harder you will be the harder your activity in removing the moisture, the longer your paper to dry, and less efficient your process. Here you would notice I am using my fingers to assist the draining of the pulp on the mold and decal, like I would have mentioned before taking it over to flip. So basically I repeat this sheet after sheet as I progress in making my batch of paper. Just I tap on the paper sheets, and then I lift the mold and decal off. I squeeze my sponge, and I would at times return to a sheet and do some surface tapping if I see any damage on the surface of a sheet, or any sign that leads me intuitively to think that okay, a little sponge or water removing action would be helpful on the sheet. And I continue on, as you see here, doing dipping the mold and decal into the pulp, allowing it to drain, adding my flowers to it, flipping it on the paper, the surface I'm working with, removing the moisture with my cloth, and repeating. what we're doing this morning is a bit different. I'm sharing with you my paper making strategy. So this morning I'm making, using mold and decals. I'm making 10 in the smallest size mini. This is around 3 inches by 2.5 inches. I'll be making about 7 sheets in this size. This is about 4 by 6 inches. And I'll be doing 5 sheets in our largest size. This is roughly 8.5 by 11 inches. So those are the 3 sizes I'll be doing this morning. These 2 are my initial mold and decals made with picture frames, some duct tape, and staples, many staples. This size is my favorite for making cards. This is, what's this? 5 by 7, I think it's standard 5 by 7 frame. And this is another large size, again using picture frames, some good old duct tape, mesh, and a lot of staples to keep it in place. This one is about 8.5 by 11 also. So for my paper making practice, obviously I have the mold and decals. You need pulp. I have my pulp batch on the floor. Let's move this to the side. So I attempted to make green the cycle of this batch. So I used butterfly pea blue and the yellow from the Cosmos. I wanted a more darker earthy green, but this is what I got. I actually love it. Not what I wanted initially, but I would be trying to darken this up my next batch. So this is the pulp, to which I would have added sufficient water to get it to the consistency that I prefer for my paper sheets. If give or take, I eyeball it. I pretty much have an idea of the type of consistency I'm looking for. So it's very liquid. I know that does not help with any particular measurement or standard that would help you, but I'm going to give you a little look of what that means to me. See, this is the consistency I usually go for. So you can see the I'm not sure if you can see what I mean, but it is on the very liquid side. I do a little test at times to see, you see my fingers under there, and as lower I go, they disappear. So that's my kind of mark. I use this as a guideline for, if I'm happy with it to even start. The second guideline I use is actually when the mold and decals are dropped into the water. I'll show you what I mean. So you see, you would know off the bat if it's going to be too thick or too thin, right? Again, you can do a kind of test under here. You put your hands under and you'll be able to see them through or not. Obviously, if you can't see them through, you're going to get a thicker paper. If you can see through, you're going to get a thinner paper. And simply, what's done after this, remove the top. You can add anything you like. This one is going to be completely plain. These have added a couple petals, and you can see the bleeding. I love this effect. I absolutely love it. And I also love the clean, clear finish. And then you basically take your sponge, your cloth, whatever you are using to remove the excess moisture from your paper. Give it a little squeeze, right? Another squeeze, but this is obviously again eyeballed, and then you lift, and there you have it, another sheet. What you can do at this point to look at any imperfections that would form a bubble in your final sheet. I don't fuss about these minor details. If you do, you could fix it at this point, right? So here I have a couple larger sizes being made. So I'm going to continue on here. I have 3 done. I'm going to make, they say 7. I'm going to make 4 more. And then I'll make 5 of the larger sheets. And we have coffee, completely optional. It's not required.